When the wind carries secrets of forgotten gods, it begins as a whisper, a hush that stirs the edges of sleeping dunes and shivers through the hollow bones of cedars. A breath older than rivers, older than the salt of any sea, older than the first cry of flame in the heart of an unborn star. It drifts across valleys where stone remembers the weight of vanished empires, where pillars lie like fallen soldiers and sand seals the lips of statues, whose eyes once held the terror of thunder and the calm of a rising moon. The night listens. It bends its dark ear to the language of air and ash, to the stories braided in the silence between two gusts, to the syllables that were never meant for mortal tongues. Every leaf quivers as if touched by a memory it cannot name, and the mountains lean closer, their ridges like the backs of ancient beasts, bowing to a sovereign no one now recalls. Somewhere a shepherd hears it first. Not as sound, but as an ache behind the ribs, a pressure like the tide before the wave, a sudden knowing that the world he walks is only the faint shadow of a greater world, coiled just beyond the thin skin of vision. He drops his staff and feels the pulse of a hidden drum, beating from the earth's deep heart, a rhythm older than the birth of rain. The wind gathers strength. It threads through ruined temples where ivy weaves green prayers over broken altars. It scours forgotten battlefields, lifting rust from swords, and carrying the sigh of every soldier, whoever fell without a name. It brushes the cheeks of sleepers in distant cities, enters their dreams like a thief of time, and leaves behind a taste of iron and lightning. Listen. There was an age when gods walked among men, when the sky was a corridor of flame and the sea a mirror of prophecy. Their laughter bent the horizon. Their anger split mountains like loaves of bread. They were not benevolent nor cruel, only vast, as inevitable as dawn. They shaped the rivers with a fingertip, taught eagles how to ride the heat, taught men how to fear the beauty of fire. But men forgot. Temples turned to dust. Priests turned to stories. Stories turned to echoes, and echoes to wind. Yet the gods never died. They folded themselves into the breath of the world, into the black wells beneath deserts, into the molten cores of sleeping volcanoes, waiting for a moment when memory would fracture, and their names, though unspoken, would rise like smoke. Tonight the wind is their herald. It prowls across oceans silvered by a hesitant moon, pushing against tides that have forgotten the shape of their masters. It spirals up cliffs where gulls wheel like scattered prayers. It dives into forests where wolves lift their noses and howl not at the moon but at the scent of divinity returned. Cities tremble though they know it not. Streetlights flicker as if the wind has kissed their wires. Glass towers hum with a low electric dread. Somewhere a child wakes and calls for a mother, who cannot quiet the sudden storm of his heart. Somewhere a poet bends over a blank page and feels a gust curl around his wrist, guiding the pen toward words he never learned, symbols older than alphabet or dream. When the wind carries secrets of forgotten gods, time itself loosens. Centuries peel away like bark from a lightning-struck tree. You can smell the incense of lost festivals, hear the bronze clash of shields in a war older than history, see the blue fire of a comet that once marked the wedding of sky and earth. The air grows heavy with possibility, as though the next breath might summon a mountain or drown the world in a second flood. I walk into that wind. It lifts my hair, tangles it with the perfume of burning cedar and salt. It presses its mouth to my ear and tells me of a goddess who wove constellations from the tears of whales, of a god who hid the sun inside a lion's eye, of a child made of shadow who once bargained with storms. Each secret is a spark, each spark a universe. My heart becomes a forge of listening. The wind does not speak in sentences. It speaks in tides, in sudden drops of temperature, in the way the stars flicker and return. It speaks in the trembling of soil, where seeds begin to remember their ancestors. In the shiver of water just before the moon commands it to rise. It speaks, and the marrow of my bones vibrates like a struck bell. I remember now. I was there when the first mountain exhaled fire, when the ocean learned to reflect the sky, when the gods danced with wolves beneath auroras that have long since burned to pale green dust. Perhaps you were there too. Each of us a fragment of that original chorus. Each of us a syllable in the endless name. The universe whispers to itself. The wind circles the earth. It climbs over deserts, carving runes in dunes that shift like restless sleepers. It threads through glaciers where blue light holds the memory of every winter. It enters the throats of volcanoes, carrying back the scent of molten hymn. It rages across plains where bison once thundered, where thunder itself once took form and walked. Do you hear it? It is the lullaby of immortals, the caution of a cosmos that remembers even when we forget. It tells of love fierce as lightning, of betrayals that bent the orbits of moons, of feasts where stars were devoured, like fruit from a golden branch. It tells of endings that were never endings, of beginnings hidden inside every ash. I open my arms to it. The night surges through me, fills my lungs with echoes of ages unnamed. I taste copper and dawn. I feel the weight of crowns no mortal hand could lift. I see the shimmer of eyes,